and we were completely surprised. I think the immediate thing is just shock for that, because it's just like, it's new, it's kind of rare, it's highly aggressive,
and there's no cure.
and there's no cure. My name is Cody. I was diagnosed with IDH, high-grade astrocytoma.
He was diagnosed in 2021, and now we live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and my name is Amanda. So we have been married for 3 years in October. We got married October 2021, and we met in college at University of Tennessee, Knoxville, in the speech and debate team. And we got married in October, and then his diagnosis was in December. So we are very grateful that we got married when we did.
As far as like concern, was I started going blind. I guess it's like one. I don't remember if it was the first one being like I just had some speck in my eye, or it was it was going. Yeah, it was like we were driving down the road one day, and we were this is in Charleston, South Carolina, I think in like November or whatnot, and I think my vision went out for like 15 seconds. It was like completely black, which is obviously not good when you're driving as well. And yeah, and it just came back, of course, and nothing. Obviously, I didn't die. That's nice. And so yeah, that was the first symptom. And a little there later, I think it was maybe another 2 weeks. Like it just seemed like a little fluke. And then after 2 weeks, I think my vision. I saw this, like, it wasn't like a speck. It was like some sickle-shaped thing in my eye. It was like blurry vision, but it's not something you can wash out. It was just like a permanent effect on my eye for like 30 minutes, and it's like I couldn't do anything about it. And that's when I wanted to go to the emergency room kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that was the first one. And then we found out later, but it's like my actual first symptom was I had these like weird contractions in my leg. That was like, they were just like pulsations. And it would start at the bottom of my foot, and it would raise up to a little past my knee, and later on to like the rest of my leg. So that was my first one. I was just like, I just assumed, I don't know what I thought. I think it was just a cramp or something.
The eye symptoms are what made us go get checked out. We actually just went to the eye doctor. And then the leg things, we just thought they were kind of a weird thing, but we found out later that those were actually focal seizures that he had been having for like a few years.
Like no headaches, nothing else.
No headaches. They found out that he had swollen optic nerves. So they said there's something behind your eyes that's causing pressure. We don't know what that is, but the only way to do that is to get an MRI to see what the pressure is. It could be something behind your eyes. It could be, they couldn't really tell us what it was. So they referred us to get scheduled with an MRI. And so we did. And then in the meantime is when we did that ER visit for the other vision thing. And they said that everything was fine and sent us home. So the MRI is what actually revealed the tumor. He got the MRI, and we were actually leaving the office, and the nurse or the assistant came out to us in the parking lot, and she was like, as we were walking out the door, and she's like, actually, the doctor wants to talk to you guys now.
It's like we were just both like, oh, cool, we don't have to wait like 3 weeks to get the results back. This is fantastic.
We were so oblivious. Walked back into the room, and then the radiologist, she came in with a disc, and she just said, so we found something on the scan. It looks like a very large brain tumor, or mass. She just said it was a mass. Yeah, it was a mass around the size of a softball. We can't really tell you anything else, but we're going to give you this, and you guys should go to the emergency room right now to the Medical University of South Carolina. So yeah, she kind of just gave us a minute, and it was just like completely shocking. Like we didn't process it, didn't register it. It was like, I'm sorry, what? The emergency room said that like it had probably been growing like rapidly for a few years, and then they kind of just started over, like did their own scans. Then they are the ones who confirmed that it was a tumor, and then they scheduled him for an emergency surgery the next morning on December 16th, which was also exactly 2 months after we got married. We got married on October 16th. So yeah, he had surgery the next morning, and some of our family members came in to support us, but we are very grateful to be at that hospital. There were a few things about just like us moving to Charleston. We didn't really know why. We just thought it was the right thing, and he ended up having like one of the top surgeons in the country for that type of surgery for that type of tumor, and they were able to remove at least 99% of the tumor. They may have gotten it all. They just have to say 99% in case they just missed a few small things. But yeah, it was pretty much miraculous. Like, it went as well as it could have, the surgery. It was kind of scary. Right after the surgery, they gave him too much anesthesia, so he didn't wake up for almost 3 days. But during all that, we just, we heard just like the perfect sermon about, like, I don't really remember, but just there were a lot of things in that where, I guess it kind of made us feel like it's not like the traditional marriage relationship after that. Like, it went from that to, I was pretty much just became like his caretaker. And so after that, it didn't really, I wouldn't say it didn't feel like we were married, but it was just different. Like, it wasn't the usual few months of marriage that you would have. And it did kind of affect us in weird ways after that. But it, like, it also brings you, I would say, closer. But it's just like when you go through something like that, it's like we were just like permanently bonded.
They thought, like, this was like before they thought they didn't think it was cancerous. So they like, the person, again, that top neurosurgeon who usually does astrocytomas, he's like, I'm pretty 99% confident this thing is just benign. And I was like, that's great. I'd love to hear that. That would be great. No, we thought it was benign. So it's like, I was like, that sounds great to me. So we were just waiting for the results, and they took so long to come in. We were just waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like, it helps when you said someone thought was benign, but it's like, you just, it's like, because beforehand, it's like, even before the surgery, we weren't thinking about like necessarily like cancerous, non-cancerous. It was just, it's a tumor. So we heard it was like an IDH, high-grade astrocytoma, and it was like, okay, a lot of words. But it was like, it was cancerous. We didn't know specifically the other information. We asked a lot of questions regarding the specific cancer. And we were completely surprised. I think the immediate thing is just shock for that, because of just like, it's new, it's kind of rare, it's highly aggressive,
and there's no cure. Yes, so that was also kind of a miraculous thing that happened. So when they first told us, they said, even if it just prolongs it, you should get chemo and radiation. That will at least help the chances. So we knew that South Carolina had good care, so we were just going to go ahead and do it with MUSC. Then we found out, for insurance purposes, since we were still only under Tennessee insurance, because we had just moved a couple months before that, they wouldn't have covered it. And now that Cody had his diagnosis, it was impossible for us to get any other type of insurance. So then we kind of thought our only choice was to come back to Knoxville to have his treatment at UT Medical, which, it's all right. Tennessee in general doesn't have the best medical care, but they do have an oncology center. And someone that we know reached out and asked if we had ever considered St. Jude. And our impression was that they were, a children's hospital. That's what you see on all the commercials. It's like babies and children, but we know that they were a great hospital. And so we were told that that person thinks that they accept patients through the age of 21. And so we looked into it and found out that that was true. They accept patients through the age of 21. And as long as you get in by that age, you're a patient for life. They have you completely covered.
So we had like 3 days to pack up the apartment and move everything out and cancel our rent. And
we packed up our apartment and tried to, that was an insane, a few days. And we have a picture of that, just like our faces after we just finished packing up everything. And then we went from Charleston to Memphis, and he started his care at St. Jude's.
It was radiation first. I think it was 6 weeks. I think there were 6 weeks of 5 days in a row, weekends off. So whatever 5 times 6 is,
30 rounds. 30 rounds of radiation.
But I had to do the oral. I had to do pill, which means I was allowed to go home. So I could take the oral pill after like the first week, making sure that like everything went well. Then it's like that was pretty much that for the first 3 weeks. 3 weeks was a little rough. Week 2 and week 3 gets like significantly exhausting. And then week 4 is when the nausea starts hitting. So for me at least, so I remember just pretty much throwing up for a few times, and And then it was just like my brain was overheating. It was like, I mean, radiation is just pretty much straight heat.
Yeah.
It's just drinking plenty of water and that kind of stuff. And I just, yeah, I was like, it would like flare up, like it felt like your whole head was on fire occasionally. And so, yeah, that was most of the radiation thing, and just being completely tired. Most of the tiredness lasted for like the next month, 1 or 2 months after that. And then it just like comes in and out for the next like 3 years. So I was pretty much, you just feel like randomly fatigued across the next 3 years.
For a few months after that, we actually switched to a natural treatment. He did like an anti-cancer like diet and lifestyle, inducing and all of that. And on YouTube, a lot of people were interested in that. So I just want to make sure that we mentioned that he did that, and that that diet has worked for a lot of people. He did it, just kind of for a few months. He still does some of the stuff now, but that was kind of the thing that we felt like was good to kind of like finish out his official treatment, was to just like get the poison out of his body as best he could, and try to get some color back, some everything back. I feel like we did, when we first got that news, like we did have a lot of reconciling to do, just about like how to view life and everything. So I think it took a little while, but Cody eventually got to the point where like I don't want to say like felt ready to die, but like we are like we're Christians, like we believe that the thing that matters, is your eternity. So
I didn't think you'd go there.
Yeah. So if you're, like how you should always view your life is like, I could die in a car crash tomorrow. Cody could die while he's going for a walk. We could die in 5 years, or we could die when we're 80 years of old age.
Yeah, the other one's like, we're not promised tomorrow on that card. Like if you're coming from a Christian perspective, at least, like we're not promised tomorrow. It was like, if I didn't have any scans, if I didn't have like, because for St. Jude, we came back every 3 months, and then it's every 4 months, and it's every 6 months. We're at there every 6 months for scans and MRIs to make sure to track the progression or not progression of no evidence of disease. So it's like, if I didn't have those scans, then I feel like I probably wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even consider the fact that I probably would have forgotten that I had cancer. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of like where we're at.
We have peace about it. We're not worried about it. We don't think it's going to come back, but if it does, we would know that that's part of the plan, and he's not going to regret like anything that he did before that.
Make every moment count. Yeah. And it's like like Amanda said, like I do think people have a purpose in their lives. And I feel like you, even regardless of whatever diagnosis it is, whatever it is, like you maximize that purpose. And there's still purpose for you. Cancer doesn't end it. It's not like that's the pause. It's like the stopping of your life. You're not dead yet. So, and that's true for all of us. As long as you have breath in your lungs, and to make the most of it.